In this video, we are going to learn about how to work with public group and dynamically using Flow, how to add members to a group or remove members from a group. We did learn this in the previous video. The link to the previous video is given in the description, which you can take a look. And this time, we're going to optimize the flow that we created previously to solve this business use case. Uh, so we're going to use record trigger flow plus auto launch flow to optimize this whole implementation. And yes, of course, we'll be creating a business group, public group, and add or remove users, all such things. We will do it. And this is the same again, right? The scenario or the business use case that we're going to solve now. So quickly, the business use cases, we wanted to add a user to a group when the user being created, it's having a profile customer payment receivables team. And we also wanted to do the same when an existing user's profile is changed from a different profile to customer payments receivable team. And this is a delete scenario where the third one where when there is an existing user, you are changing the profile from customer payments receivable to something else. So this is the same use case that we solved in the previous video. So we're going to do the same but in a little optimized way. Yeah. So this is the design steps. Yeah. So the idea is we wanted to create a main flow which acts as an entry point, and this will help us to make a call to a subflow, an auto launch flow, which is where we keep all our logic, like adding users, removing users. So which will keep it, as a separate flow. So based on a condition, we will simply make a call to the flow and then pass the necessary data to the flow to work. Okay, that's the whole idea and design. So we'll be creating two flows, a main flow, a record trigger flow, and an auto launch flow. And again, auto launch flow, instead of auto launch flow, we wanted to add a user to the profile, add a user to the group, right? As a member. So the first thing is we will try to see whether the user being created or updated is having the profile customer payments receivable team. And if yes, then we will add or remove. Yeah, in this screenshot, you are just seeing the add user flow. We will just, I'll showcase remove user as well when we do the demo. And auto launch flow will certainly requires variables to receive data from the caller, which is our main flow record trigger flow. We will just see how we can put everything together and then start building the flow very quickly. So before we get started, this is the flow that we created last time, right? To implement the same, exact business use case. As you can see, this flow is a little, getting a little complex, right? So this flow again, is written on the user object, and you can see a lot of branching statements, and you can see, right, multiple checks are done. Now, this is what we're going to optimize it. Okay, so I'll just close this one. We'll just start with the fresh flow. Okay, I've already created the base flow, which is the record triggered flow. I'm going to name it as user controller flow. So this flow, it's a record triggered flow. It is written on the user object. The trigger point is either created or updated. The point either created or updated. And yeah, and we can just put the entry conditions as well. Yeah, and we can yeah. So we can just ensure that actions and related records are selected because this is an after save flow. I want members to get added into the group after the record is created or user record is created or updated. So that's why we have decided to choose actions and related records. Done. Close this one. I didn't make any change. I'll just leave it as is. All right. Now, the very first thing is I want to know whether the record that triggered this flow is a new record or the existing record, which is fairly simple. And what you do is you have to create a new resource. Yeah, it's a formula type, and you can use is new function, default function, to figure out whether a record is a new or an existing record. So using which we can decide, we can decide whether it is a new record or an existing record. Yeah. Now, if it is a new record, I want to add user to the group. If it is an existing user, right, then I have to check two things: whether the profile is changed, and if it is changed, then I have to decide whether I have to remove the user or add the user. We'll talk about that. Before we move forward, let's get a new flow, which is where we're going to write the core, the core logic. I'm going to choose auto launch flow. The very first thing is I want to expose variables so that this auto launch flow will receive necessary input from the caller, which is my record triggered flow, so that it just works fine. So I just go ahead and then click on new resource. First thing is I want to create a variable. Yeah, I'll just say it's an input variable, and I'll just say that there's an action action add. So I'll make it as Boolean and input. So the reason for this variable is if my caller, right, if my main flow says that the action is add, which means inside the flow, I can just create a path and I can use that path to add user to the group. Yeah, so that's the reason I'm just creating this one. And then I'll create another resource and variable. I'll just say this action delete, because there is a particular scenario which demands us to remove the user, right? When the profile of the user is changed from customer payments receivable team to something else. So that's the reason I'm going to, have another path for delete. So I'll create this Boolean. I'll just make it as available for input. Perfect. So I got two variables now. And the third one is very important, which is in a variable. I'll just say v underscore this one. I'll just say uh, user record. And I'm going to choose the data type as record because I want my auto launch flow to receive the entire field values, of the user record being created or updated. So that's the reason I'm going to use this. I've just exposed this variable. Okay. I'll also ensure that this is available for input, and the type is user. Let's say done. I'll do the same again. Okay, and this time it's a variable v underscore n underscore user record underscore prior. So this will help me to receive information about the user, the, the prior record before an update happened, right? So this Salesforce will ensure that the previous and the new value both are stored. The previous values are stored in record prior, and the new values are stored in record global variable. So this one is specifically, right, will help me to hold all the old values before an update happens. So let me just expose a variable. Let's see how we'll use this back in the flow, in the main flow. Okay. I'll ensure this is also available for input. Right. So I got all the necessary, necessary variables are created. Now it is time for me to just get in, and I'll just start with the decision. Okay. So I'll just say it's a add versus delete. Yeah. So the new outcome, I'll just say it's a add action, and if the delete action, right, it is false. Yeah. If it is delete action is false, then certainly, right, this is going to be an add one, right? Add action. So I'll create a new one. I'll just say delete. Just say v underscore action delete if it is equal to true. Yeah. Minus no action needed. Done. So now I can see, right, I have just defined three paths, right? Either add or delete user or no action needed, right? So let's see how we can go ahead and then add a user. The very first thing is, right, I want to know whether the user being created is having the profile, isn't it? Having the profile, having this profile customer payments receivable team, right? So let's check that first. Okay. So let me just use decision again. Yeah. Is profile customer payments team. That's the decision. Okay. I'll just say customer payments. receivables file. How do I check? So the record being updated or created, right? So if the profile name contains the profile name. So the name of the profile is, as you can see, the name of the profile is customer payments receivable team. I can hard code this instead. What I'm going to do is I'm just simply going to use custom labels. Okay, I've already created two custom labels to hold profile name and group name. So I'll just choose this custom label. And one more thing, I wanted to ensure that the user being added is active equals true. Perfect, right? So now let's check whether the user, right, is having this profile. If yes, then so I'll just quickly change the default outcome label. Not customer payments team or not customer receivables profile. You know, it makes sense. So yeah, let's say if it is a customer, if the user is having customer payments receivable profile, then I want to go ahead and then use create records, and I'll just say add user to group. So I'll just say one record, and I'm going to choose the values to get inserted, and I'll choose the object group member. Just watch the previous video, that is the link is given in the description, so you'll know why we are using group member object right here. Okay, so I just choose group member. I can just choose user ID, which I can directly get it from v underscore in user record dot id. Perfect. I need to get the group ID also assigned. So I can hardcode the group ID. For example, if you go back to the developer console and then look at the group object, right? This is the group name, right? I can just hardcode this ID, but instead of hardcoding ID, I prefer, right? I prefer to, dynamically get the ID and then put it back in in this condition. So for now, let me hardcode this for now. And so what I'll do is I just go here and then I'll just use get elements, get records, and then I'll just say get group ID. So how do I get the group ID? From the group object. I want the system to just get me the group for which the developer name is from the custom labels, which I created and then kept it for later use. This is the group name. Yeah, the custom label holds the group name. So I'm just trying to find the record matching this custom label. I can just say contains. So if the developer name contains this, perfect. Then I want the first record to get stored automatically, right, in the flow. I'll just say done. Perfect. Now I got a variable added. So what I'll do is I'll just simply go here and where the place where I hard coded, right? I'll just remove this one and get the ID directly from the previous step. Just get group ID, not ID. Perfect. So now this will ensure that the user gets added to this to this group. So let's go back and then check the other one. So in case of delete, the same thing needs to happen, isn't it? So if it is a delete, then again, the first thing that I wanted to do is I want to just get the group ID. And I'm just repeating the same step. I can either do this or I can just say copy and I can just put it right here. Paste. That's it. Double click. Can just change the label. So in this case, again, I get the group ID, and then what I can do is I can just simply click on delete records. I just say delete user from group. So I'll specify the conditions and I'll just say go to group number, and the user ID has to be, it should be equal to the ID of the user. Here I can just simply get this one, and also the group ID has to come from the previous step, which is this. Yeah. Perfect. So now this is also done. I got two conditions right, and remove the user from group number. That's it. This is done. So again, you can further optimize this flow, right? You don't have to have this get group ID right multiple times. So you can further optimize this. For now, let's keep it simple. Okay, let's keep it simple. As you can just see this, I've just used an auto launch flow to, to just consolidate all the necessary actions to be, to be done in terms of adding a user or removing a user, right? Now let's just save this and let's give a name auto launched flow, and we'll just say add remove user from public group. Okay, I'll make it this from public group. So add remove user from public group. I'll just say add remove user then public group. I'll say done, and let's activate this as well. Okay, so back in our record repeat flow, I think I have to close and then just save this one. I will reopen this flow so that it just picks up the new flow that we just created. So this is my user controller flow. All right, and yeah, so right here I can just simply say, since it's a a new user, right? I can just simply use the subflow interaction element, and then I can just look for the flow which we just created, add remove user public group, right? And I just say add user to group, and as you can see, we just exposed four variables, right? We can just use or turn on variables that are needed. So in our case, I need this delete. I just say this is false. It's because it's a new action, right? And this action has to be true. Yeah. And in place of user record, I can just simply send the record global variable. That's all it is. So this one is no longer needed. I just kept it for future use. So this is no longer needed. So let me not include this. I'll just say done. That's it. Yeah. And in case of existing user, right, two things possible. One is one is I'll either add user or remove the user, right? So in case of existing, let's introduce an assignment element. And then I will just say add versus remove, right? So we'll just say, um, let me just add a decision. I'll just say add versus remove user. The new outcome will just say add user. So when do we need to add user? So number one, you should know whether the user is active, right? The user is active, number one. Number two, from the record, I can just choose the profile and I can just see whether the profile name is changed. If it is changed, then I want to know the profile that is changed, profile im dot name that has been changed contains the profile which contains the profile from the custom label. I can just choose the profile name. Yeah. If the profile that is changed, right, that has been updated, that is getting updated is customer payments receivable team, then it is add operation. I want to add the user to the group, right? Add the user to the group. Otherwise, let me just add another path, remove user. So when do I need to remove this user? I'll go with the same condition. If the user is active, right? That is the first thing that I would check. The second thing is if the user profile name is changed. If this is changed, then yeah. And last thing is when you yeah, the last thing is use record pair because this will hold the original value or the previous value, right? Before a record is updated. Yeah, we are dealing with existing user record. So this particular scenario, you have an existing user and the profile, right? Let's say the profile is customer payments receivable team. So the customer payments receivable team profile is getting changed to something else, to a sales manager or a system manager, whatever it is. So in that case, that old value it's getting retained, right? The end record prior, the record prior global variable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check whether the record being updated having a profile, yeah, the previous profile contains, from the label, I'll just choose the profile name. So this way, I can make use of record trigger, record prior to identify whether the profile, has got changed, correct? In this case, it's a classic, remove user. I want to remove the user from the group. So the default outcome, no change to profile, no change, but no action needed, right? So in case of add user, the same thing. Let's do this. Let's use a subflow and then let's just choose our, either I can do this or what I can do is I can just click and then say connect to element and I can just select the element to get connected. That's it. I don't have to add this again. So instead it will just it just connect and then start executing from here. Okay, in case of remove user, I can use subflow. Now I can do the same again. I think I can, yeah, I can use a subflow and I just say remove user from group. So this time I'm going to change this, boolean. I can just say add is false and delete is true and user record. I'll just say just pass all the information. That's it. Perfect. If you can see this, right? Now this one looks, pretty decent, isn't it? As compared to the other one. I think I did close this one, the first one. But as you can see this, right, the main flow, the entry point, right, from maintenance perspective, it looks neat, isn't it? I know based on this condition, which flow that gets triggered, and inside the flow, I can get a chance to see all the logic written, correct? Perfect. Let's save and then see how this works in action. Let's save and let's activate this. Good. So auto launch is also activated. Now it's time to test it. I'll go to users and let's add a new user. James Peterson. I'll just say jp at unicorn.com and let me put him into this profile. Let's save and see what happens. All right, let's go to the, yeah, as you can see this, right? We just added a user and we just assigned the user to this profile, customer payments receivability, and I can see this user getting added to this group, right? Let's just go back and then change. Now he's an existing user. Let's edit existing user and then change the profile to something else, right? And then save. The value of the parameter content is not allowed. Something is wrong. Let's just cross check what went wrong. Yeah, we had an error. So let's investigate the error. So to begin with, what I'll do is I'll just go to the flow. I think this is because of, if we go to Flow Trigger Explorer first, and yeah, so I can just see when a user is created, can you see? Yeah, I can just see two flows, that are active, right? And this is the flow that was originally created, an unoptimized one, which is still active. And I think that's the reason, right? This was throwing an error because this is also trying to remove the user, and the new one that we added, right? It's also trying to remove the user. So because of the conflict between these two, flows, we had that error. So what I'll do is I'll just go and then open the flow, the previous unoptimized version, and then I'll just deactivate it. Yeah, big one. We close this, refresh. Yeah, now there is only one flow active, and this will in turn make a call to auto launch flow and then get things done for us. Let's go back to the users, and this time let me just change the user profile from standard platform, customer payment to standard platform, and then let's click on save. Okay, I don't see any error. James Peterson. Let's go back to public groups. Let's view all the users. Yeah, I can see that his name is no longer, yeah, its name is no longer present in the group, right? So this way, we can able to optimize the flow instead of just writing one trigger, where you can just have all the conditions, all the logic written. What we can do is we can have a single record trigger flow which acts as an entry point, which will simply have the conditions, and then it will in turn make a call to the subflows. You can create as many auto launch flows as we want, and then we can just keep the logic right outside this main flow. So this way we can make it optimized, and also from the maintenance standpoint, it's much more easier than having all the logic dumped in one single flow. So with that, I hope this is optimized. Again, this is one of the ways, right? One of the ways in which you can optimize it. There are more than there are many other ways, right, to optimize the same flow. But I think you got an idea of how to use auto launch flow and optimize your flow. Thank you.